Monday Scrum.
Welcome, Scrummagers. Once again, I'm Adam Peacock here with James Graham. Jimmy, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
And Brent Read in his US Masters cap yet again.
Loving it.
You like my headwear this week?
I like that,
The Mark Hughes Foundation.
Did you go for a walk today?
Went for the walk. The start
Is that
of
why you were late and kept
the
us
week.
waiting?
Yes, and walk and walk and walk. No, they had a 5K walk from the SCG to officially launch it. Andrew Abdo, for NRL CEO, got up there and launched the week, if you like. It's Brain Cancer Awareness Week. Thanks to the Mark Hughes Foundation, they've raised $24 million in 9 years.
Wow.
So they're going gangbusters at the moment. They're selling these beanies for $25 a pop. And my information is they get to keep the mob that put them together. They either charge a really minimal amount or just give it to them for nicks, and they make every beanie sold. All that funds goes into the Mark Hughes Foundation.
Buy one,
so
Jimmy, Dip into the pocket and buy one, too.
I think you
They send
better be
them out?
quick
Really?
because they sell
Oh,
out.
they sell out,
They
yeah.
sell out ridiculously quick.
Did you pay for that one? Or
Yes,
did
I
you get
did,
a freebie?
Brent.
Okay,
Yes.
just checking.
Ran it through the business. I paid for it. So. No, all good. It's a great cause and a great morning, and they're doing a walk, about 60 people, most of whom have had people, either their family directly or indirectly affected by brain cancer in their family. So they've got 60 people walking from Newcastle all the way to 4 Points Park to get there for the Roosters Manly game on Sunday Arvo. So that's how they're going to finish the weekend, and Mark Hughes is going to be at all the games this weekend. So there that is for another year, and it's going to do great things once more. But we're going to start this Monday Scrum with player movement. And here we go again. It's really started to boil today, though, Reedy, because there's Ben Hunt. He's going nowhere from the Dragons, allegedly. But Luke Brooks, he is going to be going somewhere very soon from the Tigers.
Yeah. Well, we should start with Benny Hunt, right? Because at a meeting this morning, Ben Hunt, his management, and St. George Illawarra, and at that meeting, Ben Hunt was basically told, you're not going anywhere. You're staying here. Now, it's obviously not the end of the matter. He's not back at training till Wednesday. He said they put a statement out where Ben said he was committed to playing on, I think it's Friday night, against Cronulla. But, I know they've said he's not going anywhere.
Thursday night, I think it is, actually.
Is it Thursday?
Yeah.
I know they've said he's not going anywhere. The club said he's not going anywhere. But, I think there's still a lot to play out with this. I don't think this is over by any stretch of the imagination.
He's got until, this is a joke that he's got until August 7th,
Yeah, August
which is
7th,
after round 23. So 24,
Is that the
25,
transfer window?
26,
August 7th?
27.
August 7, yeah.
I thought it was the week after the third Origin.
No, what happened was during COVID, the date got pushed out. And because they haven't done a new CBA, they've just rolled it over.
Oh,
so it's
man.
kept rolling over. So it's still August 7, yeah.
That's stupid.
It's just not. I don't think it's in the spirit of the game, and players could literally hold out for you could let's say, for example, like a Tommy Turbo plays out his career at Manly but doesn't win a premiership. He could just in his last year or a couple of years, whatever it may be, just wait there until.
Sorry, boys, I'm having a coughing fit.
What's stopping players from just creating pile-on teams and waiting till the end of the year?
Well, it's like the NBA.
The NBA do
it.
the same. Like, it's just, it's not where our game needs to go, in my opinion. I don't agree with it one bit. That I think it's too late. I think at the halfway point, that should be the cut-off point.
Would you like to see it, say, about a period now where we've got a little bit of a lull after the second Origin and cut it off there, or wait until after third Origin? Because Origin does take a lot of...
I think halfway through the season...
Just bang.
The
old June 30 date.
Yeah, you've got to play at least half the season there. I didn't agree with it when it was Pangai Jr. moving late. I didn't agree with the short-term loan for Nofaluma.
What do they have in the Super League with this over in the UK?
I don't think it's as late as this. There was actually a loophole that some Australian players took advantage of. So I think one of my first seasons, might have been 2005, it was the year Joey Johns went over for a stint with the Warrington Wolves. Adrian Morley went and played for the Bradford Bulls.
Drinking tour.
There was a couple of others, but basically what happened was it was the same thing was happening as what's happening now, where clubs that couldn't make finals over here were being approached by the British clubs because they had a later transfer date to come on a short-term deal. And they went over there and played for the top teams too late in the season. So you had Adrian Morley play for Bradford Bulls late in the piece, and then Joey Johns play for Warrington Wolves late in the piece, and they quickly put a stop to that.
Yeah, because it was distorting the competition.
Well, it's just not in the spirit of the game.
Yeah, it's an issue. I mean, it's an issue the game needs to resolve, but the whole CBA needs to be resolved.
Well, it doesn't
it's dragging
adjust.
on for so long, and it's just a hangover from those talks that have gone so pear-shaped.
So that will just keep rolling over annually until a new deal is done, or will?
Yes. So when they ended the last 6 months, the rugby league year ends on October 31. When they ended the last 6 months without a new deal, they just roll over the old deal. So the old deal was August 7. I don't think it was technically August 7. It was like the Monday after round whatever, which happens to be August 7 this year, and that's why it's so late in the year. But it gives Ben Hunt plenty of time to try and sort out a deal. It's not like there's a rush on this. They've still got a month to work out.
Easy if you're a Dragons
whether he
fan.
goes. Well, it is. I mean, everyone wants some clarity, but there's no real urgency around it because they've got till August 7 to sort it out.
Why did the Dragons go bow? Are they looking for compensation here?
Well, they've got to show strength, don't they, Adam? I mean, if you roll over and say you can go, you lose all your leverage.
Yeah.
So by saying no, you can't go yet, or you can't go full stop, they've still got leverage in this whole Ben Hunt saga, and they can try and get something for him if it comes to that. I mean, we all know how this generally ends. The player gets his way. So, I think at the end of the day, Ben Hunt will end up leaving, be it before August 7, potentially at the end of the year if they hold on to him for the rest of this season. But by being strong, they make sure that it doesn't all fall in Ben's favour. They get something out of it as well. And that's the key, I think, for the Dragons out of this. They've got to show their fans that they've been strong, that by letting Ben go, they've got something out of it.
Like I've said this for a long time. They've got to at least stand for something, and if that's being
making life uncomfortable for Ben Hunt,
then so be it. Or any player. We're not just going to be a place that you're allowed to knock on our door and we'll just let you go. But I think moving forward, the Dragons really, they obviously. There's been Ben Hunt's been spoken to by other clubs. We all know who those clubs are. Dragons knock on their door and say, "Okay, well, if you want him, not much player. Like let's go over the top with it, and ask for
Reece Walsh.
Ask for Reece Walsh, and then obviously you get told no. Okay, we can't have Ben Hunt. But then let's see if the Dragons can get a player of value into their organisation. Well, don't just let him walk out the door.
How does it affect the dressing room? Or it's business, no one cares?
No, it does affect it. Of course it does. Most things that happen outside of the dressing room that are involved in the club affect the dressing room and the attitude in there. Yeah. And it would be strange and difficult to go into the dressing room knowing that this your captain doesn't want to be there anymore.
The other issue for the Dragons is if they just let him go, there'll be a conga line of players coming to their door because we've all heard Zach Lomax has unsettled Jaden Sewer, Jack Bird. So if you say to Ben Hunt, you can go, mates, you're free to go, when he's got 2 years left on a contract worth about $1.7 million, then you basically pave the way for other players to make the same demand. And then what's your response to them? Sorry, we let Ben go, we're not letting you go. I mean, you create a dangerous precedent if you just open the door and say, here you go, Ben, go wherever you want.
Well, also, it shows to players that want to be there that they're standing up for them as well. There's also that.
Yeah.
Like the club aren't, imagine being that just open door policy if you can just go when you want. Well, even players that want to be there. It's going, what type of club is this?
It does feel like all of this is avoidable if they sit there in November and go, you know what, Anthony Griffin might not be the way forward for this club and we'll make a change now. And that way there would have been certainty going into the season and you not having this constant grind. They're losing all these tight games all the way through.
Yeah, well, you look back and you think that they should have made that call then. I don't know why they didn't, to be perfectly honest. It should have been a call made then. But then just going back to the Ben Hunt thing and on how clubs assert themselves in these situations. One of the strongest clubs in the NRL, Melbourne Storm, Josh Adokar knocks on Bellamy's door, Frank Panisi's door, and says, I want to move. I want to get out of my deal. Okay, you can go if we get an adequate replacement. Sure. They're not just letting Josh Adokar go back for just because he wants to go back home. Yeah. And I think, in fact, I'm right in thinking that Josh Adokar actually played an extra season.
He did, yeah. He stayed another year.
He stayed another year.
Yep.
He's nearly went to the Tigers, didn't he? Nearly came back to the Tigers,
Yeah.
and then he ended up going to the Dogs.
Yeah, so that's an example of how a club should be run. Yes, we're happy for you to go. That's fine. You want to return back to your home, but we need a replacement. This is a great example of how it's worked and how it's been done before.
Put your foot down.
Yeah.
Manly fan, as you know, Reedy.
You are.
You live close to 4 Pines Park, but you're not a Manly fan, so you should be evicted. But that's by the by. But hearing that Luke Brooks is on his way there.
Well, he is on his way there. It's a done deal.
What now?
Well, not
driving
now,
there right
not now, but he's on his way there at the end of the season. I think it's a great signing for them. I think he'll be a great compliment to Dalicher Evans. I think Brooksy, when he's been fit this year, has started to show flashes of what he's capable of. I think Daly will be fantastic for him. And he's going to a club where he's wanted, and I don't think he's felt wanted for a long time at the Dragons. So for me, I think it's a great signing by Manly. I think he would seem to complement Dalicher Evans for me.
He's not the star man. I'm looking forward to seeing Luke Brooks play for Manly next year, where he's not got this weight of expectation and the weight of, the Tigers faithful, because it's a huge club in terms of their supporter base, and they all put their, they put so much pressure on Luke Brooks, and he's the whipping boy. When things go well, he's playing really well, but when things go bad, Luke Brooks, how's he playing? How's he earning X, Y, Z? Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing him go to an organisation where he has, quite a few star names around him to help him just do his thing.
As a running six?
I think that's naturally where it'll be, yeah. It would be interesting to see if they keep Schuster, because he was so adamant he wanted to play in the halves last year. He didn't want to play back row. He wanted to be a 5'8", and whether or not Manly have got plans for him as well. I don't know if Luke Brooks could play a supporting role dummy half. I just don't think that works. I think they've got to have the conversation with Josh Schuster about moving back onto an edge or potentially as a 13.
There were they've obviously tabled the contract extension to Josh Schuster, but there are no guarantees, and as part of that extension, that he would start 6. And I think their plan is obviously to move him back to an edge. And then you've got Ola Kawatu and Schuster on either edge. You've got Cherry and Brooksy in the halves, Tommy out the back. It's pretty potent attack. Well, I guess Tuolangi comes off the bench potentially.
Yeah.
It's a pretty potent attack.
If everyone's out there.
If everyone's out. Well, Tommy's the key, isn't he? Doesn't matter who plays 6. If Tommy's not fit, they're a different team.
Yeah.
But, I'm a bit like Jimmy. I'm looking forward to seeing Brooksy with the pressure taken off his shoulders and Daly running the show and Brooksy just freewheeling it, basically. Because we know what he's like when he runs the football. He's dangerous.
Interesting from Manly, though, because this Leitu Fainu, who's been getting a bit of press in the last 2 weeks, being on the beaches, he went to the same high school as my son. And from the age of 14, 15, this kid was being talked about as, you should see this guy. He is unbelievable. Now, obviously, Harold Matthews and Jersey Flegg James is a crapload different to playing first grade. But it's an interesting approach that they develop. He got a pretty good contract as a junior player, and then they reached the tipping point of, okay, he's on the precipice of getting a first grade gig. We're going to twist. We're going to bring the other guy in, and it looks like he's free to go.
Yeah, it is odd. Like, if you invest so much time and resources into developing talent, and you've got a good one in this lad, and like you say, spoken about by so many, and put a lot of financial resources into him as well. Seems strange, right at this point. You go, oh no, you can go. It seems very odd. Whether or not the contract was deemed too much.
I think it's the people who, like, so the Fultons were involved. Des was there, and that was the whole nurturing process of the Fainu family as well, with Manasi and what he was going through. Then that's all changed. So this is the byproduct of that change. It feels like, perhaps.
I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes at Manly.
Oh yeah,
with managers, and there's an interesting dynamic there at the moment. But
well, tell us more.
Well,
Don't be shy.
I just think that Latu Fanu, Samuela, they're managed by Mario Tartek. He's got a good relationship with Scott Fulton, and I think that Josh Schuster he's got as well. That's why Josh Schuster's getting linked with the West Tigers. So I think there's a bit going on there with that sort of dynamic across the two clubs. And Larsy's had some injuries. I think he's had some bad I think it was a hamstring or something kept him out for a long time, and he hasn't really kicked on low. I heard he's been playing reasonably well in New South Wales Cup in recent weeks, but I think they've made the decision that at least in the short term he's not the answer, and he's been given the chance to leave.
So you think Tigers are there in the box seat with Benji?
I was going to do this in my mail later.
Oh,
Latu Fana, let's hold on to it.
Save for the mail. I want to ask Jimmy, did you ever have an agent who had problems with a club and they just dead set would not deal with said agent, or is it a common thing that you hear around the place with other players?
I've never experienced that, but I know if I had done.
You were a big Davey Riola, were you?
I was with Riola.
He gets on with everyone, Dave.
On
his good days.
I think if you're the client, why would you have an agent that it doesn't get on with certain clubs?
No,
it's going to affect your ability to
earn.
I don't
be the best version of yourself, be the best player and athlete that you can be.
I wouldn't say he doesn't get on with Manly, Mo. I just think he's got a good relationship with Scott.
Yeah, okay.
And Scott was involved in all those guys going to Manly to start with, all the Schusters and the Olakuatus and the Whānau family. I mean, he was the guy getting them out of the West and bringing them to the beaches. So he's got a great relationship with those guys. They trust him, and I think that's more that's what it's more about rather than Mario having a bad relationship with Manly. I think it's more about he's got a good relationship with Scott, and Scott's got a good relationship with all those kids because he was the guy who identified them, found them, and brought them to Manly to start with.
You ever do your own deal, Jimmy? Say, go away, Mr. 10%. I'll take it all, thanks.
No. Never enjoyed being part of the negotiating process.
Imagine negotiating with Des.
So awkward. Like, honestly, it's like it's a really strange position to be in.
Were you ever in the room when figures were first brought up?
Yes.
How was that?
Entertaining.
In what way?
Oh, just
I'm worth what? You're full of shit.
Just entertaining, seeing like reactions from people in the room.
Did you ever blow up and go, I'm worth more than that?
No,
this is an outrage.
No.
You always got paid a bucket load, Jimmy.
I can remember my agent informing Des about an offer that we'd received, and there was some harsh, like some very stern words said between. I was just sort of in there. It was like I wasn't there.
Yeah, it's like you're a hologram.
But I was. I was like, jeez.
Did you get your own way in the end?
I just found it really funny. Like, you look back and you think, like, why were they shouting at each other for? Like,
I always find that interesting, right? The clubs expect you to, like, the manager will go and source other opportunities for you because that's their job. Their job is to give you as much money as they can. And
it's part of it, but.
A big part of it, and clubs get the pips about it. That you get dared, that a manager dares to go.
You didn't tell us about that. It's like, well,
you need to
we
know
didn't
about
have it. Yeah, we're telling you now. That's why we're here. Let's crack on. They do. The one thing that used to annoy me though is how negotiations drag on, and even now you hear about it. It's like, they're in negotiations. Like, how long can it take? Like, I remember, and also they all do the party line. They go under, like the club go under, the agent goes over. It's like, like,
you're going to meet the middle.
I'd love for a club's policy to be that we're just gonna, you get our first offer is our best offer, and that is we don't budge, like that's it. And then you're not like, well, here it's the first offer is usually way under, and you're like, well, they always knock back the first offer. Like, no, just the first offer is the offer. We've done our calculations, and this is what we believe you're worth, and this is how you fit into our program. So thank you.
A house, you never.
Well, I know, but hey, that's one level of negotiation. They're all the same. Like, nothing worth me back. Is this you? Can you squeeze any more out? Well, no. I know you'd like me to. Yeah. Tell them this is the final one.
I've never been to Bali, but it sounds like going shopping in Bali. So, hey, let's talk some footy and talk some positive footy. North Queensland, astonishingly, are 6 points off the top of the table, and they've got 2 more buys to come. This is extraordinary. Like, if you said that,
misinformation.
Why?
At its best.
What is? They're 6 points off the top.
Yeah,
they've got 2 buys to come.
Mm-hmm. But they're on it. Penrith Panthers have won 10 games and lost 5.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys have won 8 and lost 8. And there's a big disparity between those records.
There are, but what I was about to get to is if you told me that they were that close after what happened at Leichhardt Oval 4 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I would have said that is disinformation. So it's starting to turn for the Cowboys. And actually, Phil Gould called it like 2 weeks ago on 100% Footy. He said this might be coming.
He's on fire lately, Gus. He's making a lot of good calls, isn't he?
I hope his Saturday afternoons are as good as they are in terms of what he's selecting at Randwick.
They've always had the talent. I mean, you look at that side; it's got 4 or 5 State of Origin players in it. And they were my pre-season favourites to win the comp. The Cowboys. Actually, I might have tipped South. They're my favourites at the end of last season, and then I changed over the off season. But when you consider they did so well last year, and they were only going I think we thought they were only going to get better this year. And it's taken a while, but they're starting to hit their straps, and they're going to. If they keep it going, they're going to be a real threat.
Well, they got their key bodies back, Nanai and Cotter and those guys. Whereas Para, we always knew, but they just had the draw from hell to start the season.
Then recently, the adversity that they've faced, losing Brown, obviously Moses going into play State of Origin as well, for them to put up these level of performances, I think it's been great, because you could see how Para, after the draw from hell, and then compounded with some injuries, it could have gone really pear-shaped, but they've fought themselves back into contention.
It is a weird comp. It's like there's no. You can sit here confidently say who's going to be the top 4. Well, good on you.
Yeah,
and then we're nearly July.
Well, the top 3, I reckon, have got a little. Well, I suppose they haven't really, have they? I was going to say they've got a little gap, but they've got. I think the top 3 will be in the top 4.
Yeah,
and
I do. I thought it was those 3 and Souths, but obviously South's recent form is.
They've been terrible.
You're chucking the Broncos' performance yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, are we sure? Are we sure?
So. Well, I think so.
They're 11-5.
They might get Ben Hunt yet. Throw him in the mix.
Yeah,
but
they're 11-5. So that's
wins in the bank.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be top 4 definitely. I think Melbourne and Penrith will be top 4 as well, and then it's a dogfight, right? You got so many clubs in the mix.
I think you need 13 wins to guarantee it. You need 13 wins, and obviously a lot of those teams, from 4th down to 12th is completely wide open, and all you need is a good month of football, and then you're looking to cement yourself in that top 4. But a lot of those teams will play each other, so we're going to get some really, really exciting games coming up. But maybe you would have thought of not much consequence. There's a lot to play for, and each win is going to be so valuable, because not only do you get 2 points yourself, but you deny the opposition the chance of 2 points. I know that's every single week, but in terms of fighting for positions in the playoffs and who can get 5th and 6th, it could come down to points differential this year for home semis, I think.
You look at the last match of the weekend and you go, okay, Sunday night game, and in a couple of weeks' time you forget about it. But that in itself could be critical for the Roosters, who just, it seems like they can't get out of their own way still. And Canberra, conversely, going up there and winning that game away from home, a tight one, huge consequences potentially for
They just started so slowly, the Roosters, didn't they? Canberra flew out the blocks.
Yeah.
Just wanted a bit more. By the time they hit the straps, the Roosters, the game was just about gone. They almost got themselves back, but you just can't get it right at the moment, the Roosters.
I think based off those calculations, to get 13 wins, they're on 7 at the minute. So they'll need 6 more wins from 9 games. So
can't see them doing that, Jimmy.
That's the situation that they're in, and they've still got some tough. Well, every game is tough to play. They've still got to play. The
Manly this weekend on a Sunday Arvo Brookie.
Yep.
So but that's the situation that they're in. They've got to win 6 from their last 9, and each week it intensifies.
Yeah.
It really does intensify. So the Roosters are in a tough spot, but hopefully they get some bodies back and play to the potential, because I tipped them for the Premiership at the start of the season. I think there were a lot of people's tips, and it's just bizarre. They
have had injury. They've had some pretty bad injury issues over the course of the season. Sammy Walker, Brandon, obviously. Joe Swali's out at the moment. They're missing a lot of bodies, and I think that's that's affected them clearly. But still, that was a decent footy side they had in the field on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Should have done a lot better than it did, particularly in the opening half hour or so. So it's a big challenge for Robbo at the moment. I mean, I think I wrote something a couple of weeks ago saying he was under pressure. And I didn't mean he was under pressure from the club. I mean he was under pressure.
Go down?
Not well.
No.
Pressure he was under from himself was more what I was saying, that he'd be putting immense pressure on himself to turn it around because he's got high standards and high expectations. And he hasn't been through many periods like this where they've struggled this badly and just looked this poor at times. They have had stages like this, but not as prolonged, I reckon, as this is for a long time.
Reece Walsh, has he cost himself a Origin jersey and a couple of weeks on the sideline?
Well, it's come out today, hasn't he? He's come out today and said it wasn't directed to the referee, it was directed to the player. But
why didn't the referee send him off?
Well, I don't know, Jimmy. It's a very good question.
I would dare say that is being reviewed by the referees and saying, next time you hear that, mate.
Because this helps Reece Walsh's side of the story, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it necessarily does, because I think the referee. I think what the NRL will say is that he should have sent him off, and the referee made a mistake in not sending him off. So I don't know that it does. I don't think it necessarily helps.
And they'll make the adjudication concurrently, regardless of what happened on the field.
It probably hinders him, because if he'd been sent off, they take that into account. Because he hasn't been sent off, it probably means that they're more likely to be harsher on him. So I'd imagine it actually doesn't help him. And he's obviously, as I said, he's come out today and apologised and said it wasn't directed at the referee. It was directed at another player.
Well, he's apologised.
He's apologised for a misunderstanding.
But that's not for him to apologise for.
Well, if
other people are misunderstanding what happened,
they should apologise to him.
They should apologise to him. What I'm saying is,
no, he's saying that if Chris thinks I was talking to him, it's wrong. But if he thinks that, then I apologise to him for using that language and him thinking that. I understand why he's done that.
Well, it's not going to do him any good.
Probably not. No. And apparently, Adam Reynolds came out and defended him as well on social media today and said, watch the whole video. He wasn't talking to the referee. I think Fox put up the whole video and
he was talking to the referee.
I think really.
Well, didn't a teammate immediately? Yeah, didn't a teammate immediately yell out, "Shut up"?
I think Paddy Carrigan did. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was he saying? Shut up to him, as in like, shut up, don't talk to me like that, or shut up, don't say that to the referee. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think.
What's interesting about it is if he gets suspended for Origin. Who comes in? Because Kalen Ponga has ruled himself out of the Origin series after speaking to Billy.
Maybe Queensland can play with 12 to give us a chance.
So they do have some options. They've got AJ Brimson, who is really good for the Gold Coast. They can move the Hammer to fullback and potentially bring Dane Gagai maybe back.
Don't feel any sympathy whatsoever for this predicament for Queensland.
Isn't it strange that Queensland have actually got like two legitimate options there, and you've got no Ponga. You're like, go back a few years, they weren't this healthy with their stocks.
Scratching around for that game in Adelaide, weren't they?
Yeah. Anyway, if we lose Reece, no biggie, I say. Still getting my free lunch at Mr. Wong's, baby.
Yes, Aaron Wood's not here today, but did you lock down a date?
I saw him this morning. We had a quick chat this morning about it. He's panicking, mate, panicking. He's trying to get the numbers down.
Well, I've let him know what days I can't make it.
You know what he said to me?
So it's guaranteed to be one of those 2 days.
He said, it's only food. I'm not paying for alcohol.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Is that fair enough?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
If we have it on a Monday, you can't drink on a Monday, Arvo.
Mate, we can't be having alcohol. Oh, excuse me, can we just have the alcohol on a separate bill, please? Like, come on. I can't have that.
Yeah.
Like, that says a lot about someone. When they ask for the alcohol on a separate bill, you go, seen your type before. They're either using it as the tax write-off, or they're just tight as cramp, aren't they?
I have heard of the odd bloke who they'll be at sports people be on a night out, and when sports people go on a night out, especially the well-paid ones, they don't hold back. But said person was drinking a lower form of beer, and the rest were, on the spirits and the champagne. He got to the end of the night and said, here's my $50 for my 10 beers. You sort out the rest.
You talking about Buzz? Or?
No.
Chamis, it should be Chamis. Chamis for sure. That's a Chamis special. Because he doesn't drink Chammy, so he wouldn't.
He doesn't?
No, very rarely as a drink.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, maybe that's the issue why he's got.
Never trust a man who doesn't drink.
Yeah,
They say, don't they?
Exactly. Hey, let's go down the street of WTF moment of the week.
Now, the WTF moment.
Brent, you want to go first?
Look, I want to go with Christian Welch and Craig Bellamy's press conference after the game. Not his bagging of Penrith. Was it Penrith he bagged? I can't remember. Or
Newcastle.
Yeah. But what they said about Cameron Munster and why he wasn't playing.
Some sort of illness I've never heard of before, actually. So
Caxtonitis, I think it's called.
yeah, I don't know whether Munster made it up or the doctor did actually pull one out of the bag. But anyway, not quite sure the 10 or 12 schooners he might have had down at Caxton half the game might have added to it too. So but anyway, hopefully he'll be back next week.
Reminds me of my younger days when I used to go to the Caxton. I used to get the occasional dose of Caxtonitis.
Is it the type of place that you can't have one or two?
Most pubs are the type of place you can't have one or two.
Yeah, you've just won the Origin series. I'm just going to have a steady,
Yeah.
swift couple of...
Nightcap.
He was actually quite sick on Origin Day, Cam Munster. He was in bed all day.
I know you're
before
making
Origin.
it worse. Couldn't even beat him with a...
Then he's gone out, kicked on, won,
Yeah.
and had a few beers.
Good job,
Caxtonitis.
good job he was when he was in the coach's box. I'm so grateful that he had that mask on.
Did you notice every time the camera cut to him, he tried to dive out the way?
What's he doing
Like-
wearing a mask in a coach's
He was
box?
sick, Jimmy. He had a virus or something.
And as if the camera's not going to pick you up if you're standing right next to Craig Bellamy in the middle of a rugby league game.
Yeah, but I mean, the mask. Come on.
You got one? WTF?
My WTF moment goes back to State of Origin. And
Yeah.
obviously, society changes, and I've got to adapt with the change. But I am a bit more old school. But Patrick Carrigan doing the lap of honour, and people throwing their phones at him.
What about that? I saw
Yeah.
that.
Like,
Yeah.
How does he know to give the phone back to?
well, that's and people just throwing them, but also for what? So you can have on your phone the Patrick Carrigan thing. How about no? Like, you know what he should have done? He should have stood on every. I know he's celebrating and they're all Queenslanders, but you know what?
People do that at concerts
What, throw their phones?
on the
Like-
stage.
How do they get their phones back?
Find your phone feature.
Find my iPhone.
yeah, just in the middle. Just turn this one down.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Elton John, just shut up a minute. I'm trying to ping my phone here. Did someone call me? Yeah, mate. That. Come on, society. Get a grip of yourself. What do you want? Patrick Carrigan taking photos. Go to the official Queensland Origin feed or the official Channel 9 feed. Like that like people that film.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're never going to watch that back.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're going to put it on social media, 30 people are going to like it, and then life goes on.
Yeah.
Anyway, my WTF moment is directed at you, Mr.
Oh,
Englishman.
Oh,
Hold on.
You did not win the first test. I'd hate to tell you. Can you get the message back to the English cricketing dressing room that they, in fact, didn't win that test match? They're not Donald Trump in the last American election. They lost the game. But everything we've read since, geez, we played well. Geez, we took it to the Aussies. Geez, they didn't know what to do. It felt like a win. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't a win. They did play some great brand of cricket there.
Fantastic. Lost the game.
Mm.
What would you rather do? Play like shit and win, or play well and lose?
I'd rather stand for something than fall for everything.
Oh, wow. How good
I'd
is
rather
that?
sing a victory song, no matter how you play.
Oh, look, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, but they keep going back to it. Baz Ball.
Great series. It's set up. I know we're rugby league here, but it has set up one of the more intriguing sporting contests. I think this is going to be better than 05
It should be
as a
cracking.
series.
Plenty of late nights for the Australians.
And
Plenty
you?
of late nights. Oh yeah, I'll be. No, I'll watch the opening bit, but no, I'm not ruining my circadian rhythm for that. No way.
Wow.
Early riser. Didn't realise that. Hey, just on Origin. So Penrith said, I think they called it before Origin, didn't they? They said, you blokes are not going to back up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use any of you. Other clubs go case by case, and other clubs, like Manly with DCE, are desperate to have the guy back. And I'm hearing that Tommy was going to maybe play if he got through the opening 5 minutes in Origin 2. what's the go out there? Is there a
What's
the right way?
Say? What did Penrith say? It's backing up his old
we just
thing of the past, old-fashioned,
not old-fashioned, but
outdated. I think that.
Yeah, is it? Do you reckon?
Depends where you are in the table, probably.
Mm.
You know, Penrith can afford to rest guys because they've got so much depth and they're going so well. But if you're in that logjam around the 8, you can't afford to rest guys.
Mm.
So you've got to play them.
Well, that's it. It becomes that. What's the lesser of the two evils? You play an understrength team, but you save your star players for later down the track when you might play one of those teams that's played their stars and you might get an edge that way. Or do you go, well, I'm just going to have to roll the dice with it? But speaking of things being outdated, I spoke about this on the Sunday Simbin yesterday. Why do we have a game 3?
Oh, Jimmy, don't go down that path.
Easy answer. Money.
TV
Exactly.
deal. There's a TV deal locked in.
Okay, well, everyone stop moaning then.
There's also history and
history of what?
Tradition. It's a
history,
3-game series.
Yeah.
Only because of money.
Yeah.
So it's money.
And tradition, Jim.
Yeah, and great. So don't moan about it then. Don't moan when players get injured and let's pause the season. Let's have it on weekends. Let's have it at the end of the year. Here's a solution to reduce the potential impact of state of origin, but no one wants to hear it. Why? Because it comes down to money. Okay, well, there you go. There's why we don't have it at the end of the season. There's why we don't pause it season. Money. Forget moaning about it anymore.
And tradition, Jim.
And money and tradition.
And because it's nothing better than Queensland winning 3-0 as opposed to 2-0.
Are we going to get to a point, though, where clubs go, if you have anything wrong, a tiny little niggle, there's no way you're playing in that dead rubber?
Probably depends where they are in the ladder. I'm sure
it's going to be interesting. That it really is going to be interesting with so many teams in that logjam. Coaches will be like, we want our players to go experience state of origin football.
Do you reckon we'll have blokes pulling out of the third game? New South Wales blokes who are a bit line ball.
For instance, if I'm Penrith and you've had the issue with Nathan Cleary at a hamstring, you're not totally sure how he's going to come back. Isaiah Yeo, who's played a stack of rugby league in the last 24 months, like World Cup, Penrith playing every game of every season, right up until the grand final, playing Origin. There's no way in the world you want to take an unnecessary risk.
Just think about how much that devalues the concept of Origin. That devalues the jersey for both states and devalues the product.
So Isaiah Yeo then, hypotheticals here, doesn't play. Cam Murray then comes in for the 13. He's had his injury issues. South's happy about that fact that, here we go.
South's not happy already.
No.
I mean, I'm sure if you said to Jason Demetrio, if you told Jason Demetrio before the weekend, you're going to lose by 30 points, he'd arrested all those blokes. Because what purpose did it serve? None. But you just don't know. So while you're in a situation where you're struggling to win footy games and stay in contention, you're going to play those guys. And I don't think players would want to be put. We talk about maybe protecting guys because the games are dead rubber, but I don't think players would want to be pulled. Like they cherish playing for their state. So I think a guy like Isaiah Yeo, if the club said to him, "Mate, we prefer you didn't play," he'd say,
"Oh, he'd play."
I want to play. Plus, it's 30
professional
grand.
Pride and
Mate.
Well, that's a joke
it's on
in
your
itself.
mind, though, isn't it? The cash.
Is that traditional?
Cash is always
traditional,
money. I'm a battler.
Ready? Is that tradition? That 30 grand, or is that because that is a joke in itself? 30 grand.
Why is 30 grand a joke?
Should be way more.
More?
Yes, absolutely.
Per game?
Yeah. Wow. Think of the revenue that this game, this series spins.
You've got to share the wealth.
Share the wealth.
Adam, got to share the wealth.
They're the ones putting their body through hell.
If they got 50 a game, I wouldn't object to it. I have no issue with it.
I think they're getting unders by half, personally.
Jeepers.
Minimum.
I'd like to see the numbers before I'd make a call on it. But players deserve everything they get. But also, there's other avenues as well. And also, you got to be careful just how much money you put into it, and then does that affect the international game? Do you then get people? I know we have the rules and regulations around what constitutes, and then a Queensland player and a New South Wales player. But then if you incentivize it, if you make it so lucrative, then does that quash any Tongan, Samoan,
Yeah.
I would also say a state of origin jersey adds a premium to your contract at club level. So if you're a state of origin player, you will get more money
Sure.
in club footy anyway. So there is an extra reward on top of the 30 grand a game.
Yeah, I still think it's unders. Anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
I think I can see a gentleman on a crappy little motorbike with some fluorescent clothing on. Here it is. Oh, man.
Reedy's Mail.
Yes, the dogs are barking at Brent Read.
We
How do dogs go off their brains at mailman?
Dogs. No Bulldogs mail today. We did speak about Latu Fanu earlier.
Yes, we did.
And all the talk about that he'd be going to the West Tigers. I've checked today, and he's also had talks with the Dolphins. The Dolphins are interested in he and his brother. And as far as they're concerned, there has been no deal done with the West Tigers. They're being told that nothing's over the line. I believe Latu's met with Wayne Bennett, and they're very interested in Latu Fanu. So the suggestion that he's a done deal at the West Tigers. Look, I still think the Tigers are probably favourites to get him. The suggestion it's a done deal. As far as the Dolphins are concerned, that's not the case.
Are the Dolphins in any way interested, by the way, in our lead item, Ben Hunt?
No. In fact, I think Wayne's...
They've got Isaiah Katoa there that they've...
Sean O'Sullivan, Anthony Milford. And I think there's a view that Ben's 30...
He'll be
34 next year.
For the beginning of next season.
So you're looking at $900,000 a year for a bloke who's 34 and then 35 the year after. And I think they're going to go down a different track.
Fair enough.
And it might be Latu Fanu because they are interested in him. So, look, as I said, I still think the Tigers, if you ask me where he's going to go, I'd still say the West Tigers. But certainly the Dolphins are interested in he and his brother Samuela. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. Adam O'Brien, a lot of speculation around Adam O'Brien at the moment. Newcastle coach. Obviously, they're struggling a bit. The Knights, there was an item on the weekend about Paul McGregor, and that rumour was wildfire last week. The Knights were interested in Paul McGregor potentially as a replacement for Adam O'Brien. It's been denied by the club. Look, I don't think he's under any immediate threat, Adam O'Brien, but they've got the next 3 weeks. They've got, I think, the Bulldogs by West Tigers. So they're 3 huge weeks for Adam O'Brien. I mean, if they struggle, particularly the bye, they're going to win that game, obviously. If they struggle against the Dogs and the Tigers, he could be in some real trouble. So look, I think there's no doubt he's under some pressure. I think that was pretty clear after the weekend.
So is it on how they finished the season now? Because I can't see them making the playoffs. In fact, going off those calculations before, they're 5-9 with 10 games to go. To get to 13 victories, you're gonna need 8 from 9.
Yeah.
So they've got the draw, so that might go in their favour. So maybe 7 from 9.
Yeah.
So, let's be real, they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So is it just now for Adam O'Brien how they play, or is it they'll just deal with it at the end of the season and see if they somehow make a call then?
Well, beyond the next 3, I mean, if they win the next 2 games and pick up the bye, then that buys him some time, right? And then it'll be how they finish the season. But if they lose to the Dogs and Tigers, I don't know how. I think that might be full stop, end of the line.
By the way, just back to, and you guys talked about it on the weekend, obviously, with Holbrook and Gold Coast. Was there any murmurs in media land that he was anywhere close to being given the job?
There were at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And that's obviously when they came and put the performance clauses in his deal. But no one was aware of the performance clauses. There was no talk about Des, no talk about Justin being sacked. So
amazing bit of business from Gold Coast. There was a little bit of talk
a few weeks ago that he was under pressure when they capitulated in a couple of games. But no, I think it caught everyone. Well, it caught everyone off guard. How quickly the axe fell there.
Yeah, big style.
And finally, Jakey Dvojevic, bit of good news for man. It looks like my old mate Jakey might be back this weekend, hopefully from the calf injury he's had. Calf? I think it's a calf, wasn't it?
Yeah. He did it, and then he redid it against Canberra a few weeks ago.
So I think it's Jakey back. That'll help them, obviously, because they're struggling a bit at the moment as well, Manly, and he's crucial for them.
Yeah, they go Roosters bye. So do they rush him back for Roosters, and does that put him in origin frame because New South Wales could do with a player like that?
Yeah. I just think they're at a point where they need to win. So if it means bringing him back, you bring him back.
Bring him back. James, what's on for the week?
What's on this
Who
week?
you got on?
Buy round? You got something? You did your live show up in with the King,
we had the live show. That was amazing with the King and Gerds. They were outstanding. Tim Sheen's part 2 dropped last night. So he honestly fascinating chat, and geez, He does love, and I mean love, rugby league.
Oh, yeah.
He can go and go and go. Like, honestly, I reckon we got through about half the topics I wanted to touch on because it's just we go off on different tangents, and he just loves his football. I think, in fact, he was late for his following meeting because he just kept on talking, and he was in no rush to leave. When we wrapped it up, it wasn't like, oh, I gotta go. He was like, hey, remember that thing about? I'm like, you've got to go, not me.
Well, mate, given the way the Tigers are going, would you want? I'd probably want to hang out with you as well.
Well, he's only human.
Ready? Have a good week. No doubt you'll set your date with Woodsy to get your Mr.
Oh,
Warms.
Sort
yes.
that out, baby.
Have a good one. Thanks, everyone. Look forward to Beanies round this weekend in rugby league. So support Beanies for Brain Cancer, Mark Hughes Foundation, buy a beanie, and get out there and support your footy team. Have a good